has way more.
I'd like to call to order the November 3rd, 2025 Committee of the Whole Regular Board Meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. Those who are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us here in person and those viewing remotely. The board held an executive session prior to this meeting regarding personnel. Board members with an agenda before you, are there any changes? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to ask the board secretary to conduct a roll call of board members.
Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Behavior.
Here.
Dr. Barlow.
Here.
Oh, here.
Oh, here.
Dr. Buck.
Here.
Dr. Crevecoeur.
Here.
Dr. Dino.
Here.
Ms. Huff.
Here.
Present.
All right, thank you very much. We'll start off with communications. This November, we join in recognizing National American Indian Heritage Month, a time to honor the rich histories, diverse cultures, and invaluable contributions of Native American and Indigenous peoples. Our district celebrates the strength, resilience, and wisdom of Indigenous communities, and we remain committed to fostering understanding, respect, and inclusion for all. And for those joining us in person, I hope you noticed the new photos hanging in the boardroom this evening, depicting many genres across the district. I'd like to thank the communications manager, Nabil Mark, for doing an amazing job with this project. If you're ever over at Panorama Village, please stop by to see this collection. It beautifully captured the spirit and diversity of our district. And with that, I'll call on Mr. Johnson to his superintendent update.
Thank you. We will be having a special education job fair. We are looking to immediately fill numerous open special education paraprofessional positions. If you love working with students, we're looking for you. All members of the community are invited to attend our open job fair on November 5th. We are seeking over 20 new paraprofessionals to join our team. At the event, you will be introduced to administrators and other members of the special education team and have the opportunity to ask questions and learn about the available job opportunities at the elementary and secondary levels. The first 20 people to attend will receive free swag bags as a reminder, and refreshment will be provided for everyone. The fair is November 5th at 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. here at PV, Panorama Village Administrative Center. Bring your resume, cover letter, and references anytime from 11 to 6. Other news, school successes. All 8 SCASD elementary schools and both middle schools have been recognized among the best schools in Pennsylvania by U.S. News and World Report. These schools hit the target, earning a place within the top 40% statewide, and both middle schools showed impressive gains, with Park Forest Middle School ranking 82nd in the state. This achievement reflects our district's focused work on future-ready goals and the strong intentional leadership of our principals whose efforts to strengthen school culture and instructional leadership are paying off. Other news, food resources. We would like to remind our families who receive SNAP benefits that your children are eligible for free school meals and that there are other resources available for food assistance. We encourage all SNAP eligible students to take advantage of free lunch every day at school. In addition, all students in the district can get free breakfast every day regardless of income. And there are other programs for free food as well. For our families not currently receiving SNAP, you can apply for free school lunch at any time during the school year on the food service website. There is also the YMCA of Center County Payback Backpack program, which provides a free backpack full of food each Friday for students. Learn more about that program on the YMCA website. All of this information is in a letter We sent our community last week, so please check your email for details. I would also like to add that the YMCA of Center County Anti-Hunger Program, in partnership with the State College Area School District, will be conducting a food drive on Saturday, November 8th from 9 to 2 p.m. All items donated will benefit families within the district. Donations can be dropped off at the parking lot across from the high school on Westerly Parkway. Items needed include canned green beans, canned corn, canned yams, applesauce, jar of gravy, cream of celery soup, box stuffing, broad egg noodles, a box of cereal, and you may also donate a $25 gift card for any local grocery store at any local grocery store. For more information, please contact Mel Curtis at 814-801-0111. And that's it.
Thank you, Curtis. I'd like to now call on Madison Bordenstein to provide this evening's student update.
Thank you. At the 2025 PIAA Cross Country Championships in Hershey, the State High Boys team, coached by Rebecca Donahue, finished second overall. Junior Theo Opperman led all State High runners with a third-place finish in 15 minutes and 45 seconds, while fellow junior Luke Bradbury crossed the line just 1 second behind in 15 minutes and 46 seconds to take fifth place. The team's roster included Opperman, Bradbury, Dexter Walker, Kyle Fritz, Owen Vigilian, Thomas Ruffing, and Ben Alexander. Also at the championships, the State High girls finished third overall. Sophomore Evie Yunkin led the team with 17th place finish, crossing the line in 19 minutes and 17 seconds. The team's roster included Yunkin, Caroline Frank, Autumn Swisher, Sylvia Hutchinson, Julia Bigger, Lacey Schaefer, and Ainsley Barabas. Congratulations to these teams for capping off a great year with outstanding performances at states.
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations to all the runners. Next up, we have a legislative update. Jackie, do you have anything you want to share with us this evening? I'm flummoxed. You're never on this side.
Well, here I am.
There we go.
There is no update beyond what we talked about last week. Nothing has changed. So there's still no budget, and there's still no budget.
Yeah, I appreciated that. There was some coverage in the media recently of the resolution we passed at our last meeting, as well as remarks made by county commissioners about their constraints to facing the budget issues. Next up, we have Center Region Council of Governments Liaison. Jesse or Peter, do you have anything to add? I don't know if you've even met since we were together not long ago.
Honestly, the last COG meeting had a pretty thin agenda. I think Gretchen went. But
Okay, that's all right.
It was probably over by 7:45.
Okay, I'm sure she'll let us know if there's anything pressing. Thanks. So then at this point, we have time for public comment. Each individual will be allotted up to 3 minutes for items related to board business that are not a consent or action item this evening. For those items, public comment will be held just prior to voting on them. Do we have any in advance signups? Okay, so none of those. Do we have anyone online that would like to make a public comment this evening? Okay. Anyone here in person that's interested in making a public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. We're going to start our Committee of the Whole with Culture, Climate, and Learning. Members of the administrative team will provide an update on the assessments of Goals 1, 4, and 5 of the district's Future Ready Comprehensive Plan. Welcome, welcome. So we have Tanya Back and Heather Pringle and Ms. Yoder and Ms. Merritt. So thanks for joining us this evening. I can hum the Jeopardy music.
I know.
My computer has been slow all day. It is. I did restart it after a meeting, so we'll see if this works. Okay, thank you for your patience. We're excited to share the first of what would be a 3-part series over the next 3 months as part of CCL. We will be reviewing our 6 Future Ready Comprehensive Planning Goals. So tonight is the first of that meeting, and we are going to be focusing on Goals 1, which really is a large part of what special education worked on last year, and then Goals 4 and 5, which is a very large part of our English language development. Unfortunately, Dr. Hammersley Quick was to be here, was to be part of this, and had an emergency, so she will not be joining us. She worked with Dr. Pringle on this, so if there is anything that we kind of squibble through, we have gone through it, but she had some details from her lens that she wanted to share that we may miss tonight, but hopefully not. So tonight, we're going to go through. Dr. Pringle and Mrs. Black will be leading the bulk of the meeting. They've really done a lot of the work. And then Mrs. Merritt and I will be sharing from our perspective just the plan, the goals, and then answer any questions you may have. As you know, about 3 years ago, I will share this. This is the second time since Mr. Johnson has been working through the superintendency that we've had to rework the Future Ready plan. And last year, we put, at the end of last year, beginning last year, was the first year of a 3-year new goal. So this is the first year we're reporting on those new goals. And again, we had, in case you don't remember, different target years that we set. So tonight when they talk, we really focused on that target year. The interesting piece about this is every school building has their own school comprehensive plan that is directly tied back to this. And all of our directors are directly tied to it too. So it really put our system together to make sure that we were all focusing on the same areas, which were the needs of the district. We're going to move into Goal 1. And as I said, it's really a special education goal focused on a lot of our work towards some of our marginalized populations. And I'll let Dr. Pringle take it away.
Thank you. So you can see on the slide that the first goal that we were looking to address was looking at the disproportionality of our students who are identified for special education. So Michelle and I last year pooled all of the evaluations for students who were Black, Hispanic, and multiracial. We added that category in as well to try to identify root causes of that historical over-identification that we've seen in the district. So the first step that we took in this process was pooling all those evaluations. Too fast. So there were 181 total evaluations that we reviewed. And looking through that data, we looked at the qualifying primary disability category. So that's what the state pools whenever they utilize our data and report that out. So we only looked at that primary category. The student grade in which they were identified for special education, and then the entity that initially identified the student, whether that was early intervention, which would have happened prior to them enrolling for kindergarten, state, college, or school district, if we were the identifiers, or if the students moved into to our school district with already having a special education evaluation. So we tried to break it up into those 3 categories, which started off pretty interesting when you look at that next slide. So of the 181 special education evaluations that we reviewed, you can see that 13% came from early intervention, already identified. 25% of them enrolled with SCASD with the current evaluation. And then the remaining 62% are students in which our teams evaluated and found eligible for services. And this is another visual that we found. It's just interesting to see. So in blue, we have the total evaluations, all 181. And then we compared it to only the SCASD evaluations. And you can see in early intervention in kindergarten is where we see the biggest or the largest number of students being evaluated for special education, both the total numbers as well as those within the school district. And then you can see it steadily decline and then spike in grade 5, right? We can make assumptions based on that data that students are preparing for middle school, parents, teams, and as well as the rigor of the curriculum in grade 5. You see a slight decline throughout middle school, and then it continues to taper off through the upper secondary grades. In addition, we took all of the evaluations and broke them down by disability category, and you can see that we laid it out with SCASD versus other LEA evaluations. That could be early intervention or a previous school district when the students moved in, just so we could look at it further. When we look at the breakdown across those disability categories, I know that we have shared multiple times our increase in the students who are identified as having autism. That continues to, even with these pulled out, that continues to be above the state average, the 22.9%.
I was in a meeting today with Patton, who shared, and had we had time, we would have pulled the slide. Pennsylvania is second in the nation for special education population percentage. So we are seeing higher than the Pennsylvania average, but overall in this nation, one of the reasons we are working on comprehensive supports and through Patton and their work in the state is really our increased numbers in special ed. And they are talking about doing research with it, but it is, Pennsylvania has a large special education population. We're not sure why. And then some of the stuff that we are looking at, as you say, is our autistic population is twice of what the state average is, but some of our other ones are lower. So it is something across the state that they're looking at too. But it was very interesting. We can get you that. That just came out of the work that Patton is doing as part of their special education work.
So conclusions that we were able to draw from looking through the 181 evaluations. So we did learn that 62% of those students are identified by our district, and the rest come with an evaluation. So 25% from a previous school, and then 13% registered with an evaluation from early intervention. In addition to that, 50% of the evaluations were completed in either the EI programming or during the kindergarten year. So even if we have students who are registering with us from early intervention without a school age disability category, for example, developmental delay is not recognized by school age programming, 50% of them, those students are eventually evaluated and found eligible under a school age category. Overall, the one category that we're seeing that there may be disproportionate identification is autism. I don't think we were surprised by that, but it does, we feel good to really have like the data to support that. You know, we've said time and time again that percentage is increasing significantly. So over the course of this year, Michelle and I plan to continue to track the evaluation data to see if we can uncover additional trends. We're going to start removing the early intervention students that are already identified, as well as those that move in with evaluations, because once identified, we don't have a lot of control over that. We need to provide services because they've already identified that need. And then also reviewing the secondary disability categories. So like I said, all of our reporting to the state only pulls that primary disability category. So we really want to look at the secondary to ensure that we aren't disproportionate in any other area. So a student could have a specific learning disability as a primary category and emotional disturbance as a secondary category. So we want to look and make sure that that indeed isn't a disproportionate area. In addition, with school psychologists, the MTSS teams will continue to review overall data and trends, trying to identify the areas of professional growth that we can implement to address any of the disproportionality that we see. RTI for SLD continues to be used in our elementary schools, but then Michelle will be outlining plans to develop RTI for SLD in math. I believe it's this year, moving into next year. And also, we do this daily, but continuing to monitor those teacher caseloads. I think that's crucial so that we ensure that we're providing the support that students need, including related service providers, speech language occupational therapy, physical therapy, paraprofessionals, as Mr. Johnson said, we're having a job fair this week to try and recruit additional employees. And then along with those interventionists, the behavior specialists, assistive technology, curriculum, and administrative support. It goes along with that to ensure that we're able to meet students' needs within the district.
So,
Do we ever reevaluate these students that come out of from not in our district and they just come with these evaluation already?
Yeah. So yes. So once students move into the district, we take their evaluation or reevaluation, the most recent that they have from their previous district, and as a team determine when it makes sense for the next reevaluation to take place. So under IDEA, it's every 3 years unless a student has an intellectual disability, and then it's every 2. There are some situations where we would choose to reevaluate sooner if we feel that additional supports are needed, or maybe the supports the student has aren't appropriate. So yeah, so sometimes students are reevaluated and they might not be eligible, or they might fall into a different category of eligibility under Pennsylvania guidelines.
so with this school, and we're going to move on to ELL next, but yep.
Well, and just another plug for the paraprofessional service, the best job in the world. But I wanted to ask in terms of with the schools, the school psychologists and MTSS teams, is that process, the MTSS, consistent across schools? So just to kind of think about if that even makes sense as a question.
It does make sense, yeah.
I can answer it. We hope. That is our goal across all 8 elementary schools. Our middle schools are doing a nice job trying to add in. Now, we are response to intervention for a specific learning disability only in reading K-5. We do have MTSS systems K-12, but to be able to use response to intervention for the specific learning disability, right now it's reading only. We're hoping to get to math. We get together. We have worked to do district systems fidelity inventories. We've done reading tiered fidelity inventories just to make sure that our alignment in all of our buildings are consistent, to making sure that students are getting common instructional, like the same timing, the same instruction, and then the same support services throughout.
I figured. I just wanted to kind of like close that up. So thank you so much.
I was just, now it's back on. I was just asking again about the reevaluations. Some of these people who come in may come in from other states that have different criteria. Mm-hmm. So is that a reason for reevaluating them or not?
It can be, yeah. So we work with our school psychologists in that building, and they review the evaluations as students move in, and they are, crucial components to that decision, because they can determine with that evaluation if it's something that they would look for a different Pennsylvania category, or maybe if it wasn't the same evaluation procedures that we would have in our state. Yeah.
Can I just ask, so is it working? It's working. Since you're looking for so many paraprofessionals, could you just take a minute to describe what those roles do? And like what the paraprofessionals are doing? Because we're getting so many of them and they kind of have different criteria for who we can hire. So I think people might be more interested to know, like, what would they be doing in that role?
Yeah. And it varies across the district. So we have paraprofessionals that are serving as a one-to-one support for some students. Okay. We have other paraprofessionals who might be working in small groups and supporting multiple students at a time. Paras are implementing behavior strategies, academic interventions, providing proximity for safety and support in that manner. So they do it all, and they're a critical component to our students' success. I think when we consider paraprofessionals, it's really they're flexible. They need to be ready to kind of come and learn anything and everything, and we train them to do whatever that position may be for the particular year or student that they're working with.
Okay, thank you.
So with this goal, when we worked through these Future Ready goals, we knew that disproportionality with our Hispanic and Black is coming up in different areas. And special education had worked through this before, but we never really took the first step to identify the root causes. Something that we really need to keep hold of is we still are disproportionate. We know that we have students coming to us in kindergarten through early intervention and through some of those, and then other move-ins. But what our next step is with special education and really with the district is what are our action steps to really create equity for all, and does it need to look different? So if this is where we are, what can we do to reduce it? What can we be doing in our preschools? This year, they are going to continue with their CELT team. We will be working with them together with the directors to work through an action plan to really continue to do the work in this area. Yes, we've identified causes, but what are we going to do with it is really our next key step over the next 2 years of the plan.
Good evening. I'm always a little bit hesitant to start talking in the mic, afraid that I'll blast everyone. Goal 4 and 5 are extremely closely tied together, with 5 being a pathway to 4 almost, for our English language proficiency and professional development planning. Goal 4 is based on PDE's 2033 goal of 70% proficiency for all English language learners. And what that means is that 70% of all English language learners, or ELLs, would be scoring on the access test at the level of proficient or higher. And what that means for each grade level varies. So it's not like if you're in 3rd and you score just a 3, it depends on your age. So, and your grade. So with that in mind, looking at the 4 domains of listening, reading, speaking, and writing, we prepared a district goal based on the comprehensive plan that we currently have in place for 2024 through 27, with 40% of our students reaching proficiency by the end of our comprehensive planning period of 2027. Okay? So the first part of the goal was to reach 20% proficiency from 9 in the first year, and with that, using our professional development as a pathway and a goal, with 80% of our staff members being trained during this first year. So if you look at this slide that has our goal and the 3 summaries from our Future Ready data, the first slide looks different, or the first graphic looks different than the other 2 because of a change in the way that Future Ready summarized the data. Correct, Danielle? The way they presented it?
You can only get 1 year at a time of Future Ready, but you can get PDFs of the past years. So the PDF is what the 22-23 looks like now. We didn't capture it in 22-23, so to go back, that's what it appears like.
But we thought it was important to include it, even though it's not the same style as the other 2, because it was the baseline. It was a starting point for our district, where we discovered that we had 9% of our ELLs at state high scoring proficient. From that, we have risen in 2023 to 36.4, and in 2024-25 to 48.6, which is an increase of 12.2% for our district, and is 16.2% above the state average of 32.4. So to summarize that in layman's terms, layperson's terms, we're making progress. We're making progress.
If this is, I love data. I was talking to Chris and Tanya last week about this. If you look at where we were, it's why we set this as one of the goals when we worked last year with Mr. Johnson, and we really felt that we had to focus on this. Mm-hmm. It was an area at the high school that we were in the red at 9%, when the state in 2022-23 was at 29%. We were significantly below. Mm-hmm. Chris can talk to you a little bit about some of the things the high school did. Jonathan Klingeman was still here at that time, but within 1 year, we increased and beat the states. The state grew by 2%. We grew by what? But we far exceeded that. And then again this year, as they continue to make changes, and I think it's important to hear about what the high school did, because this is strictly the high school's groups. they jumped to 48%, and you can see that the state is still growing, but at a very small percentage. So the focused efforts, again, of this goal and what they are doing is pretty significant from this data. I don't know if you want to share.
So they really focused on the structural ELL department. They offered professional development to all teachers, not only the ELL teachers, and started to move students into content level classes as much as possible when they were ready. So and taking the Keystone. So we had really good results with that last year, and those results really paid off. I mean, I'm proud of the 9.1 to the well above state average, even though it seems like we have a lot of room to grow, and we sure do. We're not stopping there, but that's just an incredible leap, and that is absolutely credit to the administrators and teachers in the building that are really working together to make a difference for that population. And our population continues to grow. And so that's the really unique part of this population is we don't always know where they don't always come from the same kind of places in the world, and they don't come from the same educational background. So we take them in, we assess them, figure out the best way to help them, and it really takes a team, and they're doing a great job. They do ELL. What do they call them? It's Tuesdays, where she's empowerment. Thank you. ELL empowerment days where faculty can stop in and get tips and assistance on how to be inclusive.
Yeah, I think it's really remarkable because while we have students come in, we have transiency in the district. Students are always growing from grade to grade to grade, but this particular population, it's very random. Students can come in, as 16-year-olds with no English experience versus coming in as 8-year-olds, and that's a very different learning process. And the population has all different bubbles in it from year to year. So your growth is most certainly impressive because knowing that you have that turmoil in population, you can't control for it. It's always going to impact you to some degree, but you're still growing significantly despite that is impressive. Aaron, did you want to add something?
I was kind of thinking about similar stuff to what you were talking about. I just wondered how much, how consistent is the population from year to year? Because I think we have, especially being in a university town, I think we have different challenges than, say, a place like Johnstown or something. We have people moving so frequently into and out of the district. Even my daughter has several friends who are ELL who all were here for 2 years and then they were gone. So does that... do you know what percentage of that population we kind of retain every year?
I can't give you the retainment. I can tell you in 22-23, we knew that we had different cultures moving into our district, a little bit different than the international students that we had. And then that was really the year that the high school really obtains some groups of students that came to us and hadn't mastered their first language, let alone the English language. So it was maybe a different type of ESL, and really how do we educate these students? Do we kind of protect them in their own little ELD classroom, or do we say, you're a SCASD student and we need to get you the best academics we can with the supports we need? And that's when they began to tackle that, again, under Jonathan, under that team at the high school. And Alex Crosswell was just coming on at that time too. So I would say that our dynamics with our ELD learners has really changed. We still are getting from all over the nation due to Penn State, but also with some different areas and just different backgrounds. So it's really hard to tell regarding that, but I would say once they're in the high school and once they're an EL student, they are taking that access test every year. They don't get to get away from it.
Do they ever graduate out of the ELL?
They do. They become monitored students where we continue to monitor their growth and progress.
Okay, so they continue on whether, Okay.
So
I have to agree with Amy. I think this reflects a lot of hard work that you might not necessarily see because of that transiency, but I think it looks great.
Thanks. Madison.
Other questions while we're paused?
Okay. Good, Madison, a question.
Yes, when I was
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, no worries.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It was the not elephant in the room, but yeah, the big question, right? It's
And it depends on the school. If we're talking in Easterly or a different school, it depends on how transient or how much turnover there is. So yes, I give credit to those who came before me to make these changes in two areas. It's hard to take a look at your data and say, we really need to make improvements and to be honest with yourselves and make changes. So I give them every credit for that and for working hard as an ELD department and as a group of teachers who to be open to training and doing things differently. So your question, Aaron, connects with the next slide, because in addition to our turnover and transiency, our prediction was that our numbers may decrease because of just people needing to move and go other places. That has not been the case, as you can see, with a jump of 38% in our total number of students from 2023-24 to 24-25. So that was a surprising statistic to me.
Tanya, because you mentioned the monitored students, so trying to, are they, that be just active?
This is just active.
Yeah, like it says at the top.
That's
active.
okay. Yes, this is. I pulled out the active because the monitor didn't really change that much. Our students were in a place where they needed to continue to be active, but the active increase has been substantial.
Right, but I know, like, as they graduate, then it's going to bring the active number down.
Maybe.
So depending on how many active are leaving versus coming, again, you're stuck with that.
Correct.
Difficulty, and yeah, but that's still a lot of growth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that is goal 4. That brings us to goal 5, which is the 80% goal of having all teaching staff trained annually. And during 24-25 last year, we surpassed that by training and providing professional development for 87% of our teaching faculty and staff. All of middle and high school received professional development with Dr. Heineke and with teachers who are in the ELD department. And then for our elementary schools, we focused on our 5 centers where we have English language services. So we surpassed the 24-25 goal of 80%. One of the action steps of the plan was to create an English language improvement plan, which I created this year. And with the team's input. So thank you, team. And it summarizes what we have done for professional development through the years, including what we've been able to accomplish this year so far, which has been thank you for signing off and approving our consultation with the Burke Consulting Group, which has been very helpful, particularly in terms of looking at data and how we can use what we learn to inform instruction. The other major piece has been across the board at all levels, looking at what are called the individual education plans for our English language learners. Because the testing program, along with other pieces, will generate suggestions, profiles of learners that we haven't had the time to dig into or work collaboratively on before as content teachers and ELD teachers. So we've been able to say this is an expectation that, like an IEP or a 504 or a medical plan, that as a content teacher, we would want you to please work with our ELD staff to make sure that we know what our learners are doing in terms of successes and what their needs are and accommodations that we should make in their learning styles. So I basically kind of talked through the next few slides without actually going in order of the slides as it came to my brain. But are there any other questions at this moment? We're very grateful for the work of our team, grateful for the support as we've added resources, and looking forward to continuing to increase the proficiency and success of our speakers, particularly their confidence with their speaking skills and their writing skills. Peter.
Yeah, thank you very much. Would you explain to us why, and any of you, I mean, goals 4 and 5 are important for our district, important for our families, and important for our kids? Because we're in like data land, you know, and which is great. But I just want to bring it back to like, why does this like really, really matter?
So that children can do actually the 4 parts of the testing, which is have the ability to speak, read, write proficiently and be learners, and access not just those basic skills that we think of as more elementary, but all parts of the content areas, from a CTC course on automotives because they're interested in that, to culinary, to one of our pre-nursing programs for their individual success, and because education raises the status of you as a learner and of your family and can change your whole trajectory in your life. That's a reading teacher's answer.
And to build on to what Tanya said, goals 1, 4, and 5 help us to be a more inclusive environment for all kids, where every student belongs, every student can achieve success, and every student matters. And that's why we have goals 1, 4, and 5.
And in December, you're going to see 2 academic goals. And these students, we need to be supporting them so that they can meet our academic goals and graduate like every other SCASD student. And so they are embedded into every single goal of the Future Ready, but this helps us focus on the areas that we really need to support so that they can achieve the same outcomes and given the same opportunities.
So the investment in this program invests in people who have decided to and may well intend to stay in the United States and be productive members of society, you know, maybe citizens of our nation, right? Am I understanding that right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like, I'm trying to go for the largest picture here about why this is an investment back
Right, I think it ties
in the United States.
Yeah, I think it ties to our mission to ensure every student has opportunities to grow, thrive, and fulfill their potential through caring, responsive education. That's what this is.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I also think that it enhances every classroom I was ever in. And so to see that and to see the way it transforms and enriches every classroom. So your work is transformative and we're really grateful for it. And I'm grateful for that meet and greet last Sunday, which brought everyone together. So thank you. As I
my pleasure.
Hit the microphone.
That's your passion. That's your passion. I appreciate it.
That makes your point.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you for your support of the initiatives.
Yeah, and I certainly wholeheartedly agree in all those things. And also, legally, our obligation is to educate every student in our district, period.
Period.
Full stop.
Great.
There's no qualifiers to that. That's straight up, that's our obligation. Did you have something you want to add?
I was just going to say, we've talked a lot about how great the teachers and the team are, but I also want to just give some recognition to the kids who are the ones who are putting in all the really making a lot of progress too.
Yeah.
Today I was in 2 classrooms, and I think the first classroom, that group had 12 children, everyone from a different place in the world. And the second one, the same but a smaller number, and they were, as you said, working very hard on their reading and writing skills. And the classroom assignment in that small group was directly tied to helping them be successful in the larger classroom. It was very inspirational. So thanks for your support.
I just want to say I appreciate the community members and the board and the administrators and the school community who put together this strategic plan for us. And for the school administrators to create plans, school-level plans, to enable us to achieve these scores. I thank you for all the work that you're doing.
And I think we'll conclude with, you saw a lot of work on our marginalized populations and special education, although we didn't show academic data tonight. Part of the inclusive excellence policy that State College stands for really embeds all of these kids and making sure that every child is included, like you said. So these goals, again, really focus in on what we needed to do to grow 100% of our population.
Great. Thanks so much. This is lovely news to hear this evening. So we're going to move on to facilities and grounds. Mike Fisher will provide some updates on the next two agenda items related to the Playground Master Plan and the Mount Nittany Elementary Addition project. Thanks, Mike.
Evening.
Evening.
So we put together a memo kind of outlining what we feel as though our process is going to be to present to you for looking ahead and planning our playgrounds from now through the next, I think, 8 years or so. So and the first part of this is really what we envision, and again, we're putting this out there for feedback, if you have any, is really coming up, presenting a conceptual design that is kind of a starting point for playgrounds moving forward. We'll take that to the buildings themselves as principals, feedback from our SEAL program, our PTOs, our parents, and we potentially put together a steering committee, community meeting, right? So to get feedback from the community. Then we'll take that feedback back to our engineering team, adjust design as necessary, kind of re-engage with any changes, and then kind of a final approval. So really that's what we're looking at. I think we feel as though we've covered our bases there, trying to get good stakeholder engagement through the process. So I've included some stuff in here from the master plan for the playgrounds for 2019, some of the main points, feedback from the community, just so everybody's aware of that, and we're kind of taking that into consideration as well. And some lessons learned, because the playgrounds at the 3 elementaries, there's been a few challenges. I mean, the kids generally really like the playgrounds, but we've seen some challenges with them. So we want to recognize that and, and pivot and adjust, as necessary. And then again, so when we did the playground assessments for the facilities master plan, we sent out questionnaires to all the buildings, and kind of the 3 big things were, more open area, more climbing equipment, and then just being able to not have blind spots, right? So that our paraeducators and our teachers can keep a better eye on the children as they're out running around. So from all of the questionnaires that we had sent out, those are kind of the main themes coming back. So we put together kind of a list of guidelines as we're working with our team and designing these playgrounds for kind of common themes, right? So we know that we want to kind of keep aspects of the nature play. Feel as though there's a lot of benefit to that. Adaptive play, so really building in a lot of adaptive play apparatus in all the playgrounds. Some form of poured-in-place rubber surface. So if we look at the parks around town, kind of most of these parks are going to that kind of poured-in-place style. So we want to at least investigate that. Open areas, let kids just run. Some bright colors, climbing equipment, as we've seen as a theme, if people want. One of the comments was in the clinic had basketball hoops. So we're looking at that. And then really focusing on sight lines as well. So really those, we feel from the feedback we have currently, that those are kind of our guidelines as a starting point, right? And then, lastly, we put together, based on, again, feedback, and also, our impressions of the, what we're having trouble kind of getting parts and pieces for certain equipment, preliminary schedule as well. So again, open to feedback on this, kind of a first pass, and like I said, we welcome any help we can get.
Did you have a question, Eric?
Yeah, just a couple. So I noticed it says at the top, preliminary budget budgetary earmark for each playground, set at 500,000. That's a design fee for each playground, is that
No,
right?
that's construction.
That's an expected construction.
Correct.
Oh, okay, so like completion. With that as an estimate, there are probably, I assume there are going to be some that require more work than others. Like I
Absolutely,
know,
right?
like-
So we look at, that's kind of a median. That's
Okay.
kind of what we're benchmarking.
I know like Ferguson Township has some drainage issues they have to work
Correct.
through for,
Correct.
yeah, exactly. Okay. And then would you, most of this work, can most of it be completed over the course of a summer?
Absolutely.
Okay, so shouldn't interfere with the,
No, we don't anticipate any disruptions to the learning environment.
okay, great.
Other questions?
This is just helpful to have as we're starting the school tours, to kind of have this one pager when we're doing the reviews of the playgrounds. So it echoes everything on every school tour I've been on, but it's still just nice to have this, and so to kind of keep it in our back pocket. So thanks for this.
Sure. I mean, it's just me putting somebody else's words on paper, really. Yeah.
So.
Peter?
Yeah, will you, just so that we're clear on what the terms mean, will you say what utilizing nature play concepts means? And then which schools or playgrounds look right now that they would have the most to change using that concept?
So to answer your first question, we will reference our 2019 master plan to really take a hard look at those concepts and integrate. I mean, that's kind of what at the time the community, the board wanted. So we'll look at, and there are some aspects, of our nature plan. We've had some challenges with organic material on our current playgrounds. So we will take a hard look at those and see what's working and what's not, and try to keep integrate what we feel is working better than others, per se. It's
So
an ambiguous answer, I know, right?
Yeah, so nature play, does that mean, like natural material playground equipment, or does it mean, like planting new trees so that kids can climb in them? I know it's not the climb in them part, but and if you don't know the answer to that question, then that's fine.
I mean, we haven't fully hashed that out. So, for example, some of the swings are made from natural materials. And we don't see the same challenges with those as we do with some of the other items with like the nature play, like large stacks of logs, for example.
Right.
So we want to take a hard look at what is working and what's not. But the nature play, I also envision like just we go back to like the open space, right? So just maybe it's grass and woods, and so.
And so open space in this doesn't mean cleared space. It
Not
means,
necessarily.
like, sort of, we have an open space plan in a municipality and what we intend to, do with that, and it can be any number of environments.
Sure, not
Okay.
necessarily. Again, very open for discussion as we go through the process.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your second question.
I don't think that you need to answer it because I don't think you need to answer it again because I think the answer that you gave implies an answer to the question.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
So I guess feeding off of that, and just one other point that I wanted to make, certainly open space, I know kickball, kids running, and all those things, but having been here for the three playgrounds that were more nature play, part of that was a lot about plantings and other issues. And I know sightlines are really important, and I certainly support making our staff's job doable and easier. But I just hope that we can keep some of that balance, because the thing that concerns me that's not mentioned here is shade, any form of shade, whether that be mature trees or shade structures. And we've heard from some parents talking about the potential need in some locations to consider something like the canopy kind of shade structures. We're facing hotter and hotter springs and summers. Elementary kids in particular have challenges in terms of applying sunscreen. We have rules, that's not something that staff can do for them. And so there's always that issue in terms of a risk. My local dermatologist would be really on me to say that it's really important that these kids at particularly young ages are sheltered and shaded. So I know some of our playgrounds are a little bit more open without a lot of mature tree coverage. Not everywhere is park forest. And I really think that's something that should be on this list in terms of sun exposure risk or shade or however you want to term it. It has to be a real consideration, particularly moving forward if we're going to add additional metal structures. I know the metal slides was a whole thing. And yeah, so I'll stop beating that drum, but I think it's something that can't be left off the list.
No, it's a good point. And there's a lot of products out there now, sunshades and sails. And
Yep.
There's all kinds of
I
stuff.
have relatives in the Southwest, and certainly every single playground you go to are all covered because of those reasons.
And,
So,
to your point of sight lines, for example, maybe it's not necessarily eliminating something, but maybe just turning it 30 degrees.
Yep.
Right?
Sure. I appreciate that, listening to that input. Anything else from board members for Mike on this part of the agenda?
I did just want to mention also, and you'll probably confirm what I already think is the case, but when we talk about the adaptive play equipment for special education students, the intention is to have that integrated among the rest of the play equipment as opposed to like a separate area.
100%.
Okay, good.
Well, and that's also, we do have, I've seen students with injuries or broken bones that sometimes they really appreciate having some of those adaptive structures that they still get to enjoy those 4 to 6 weeks of healing time on the playground as well. All right. You want to move on to the Mount Nittany edition? We got some pictures. Exciting.
Okay, so our first athletic field finally got seeded. We were a couple weeks late on that through some other inspections we had to do. So we didn't get the growing season we wanted, so we'll address that again in the spring. We may have to reseed it in the spring. But it looks great, and it has been seeded. And then really here, is a picture of that, the one wing. You can see it's really getting dried in, starting to look like a building. So steel deliveries were still a challenge. They still finally showed up last week. Put us an extra week behind. So we're gonna address that. Really, right now, a lot of the low voltage stuff run, as well as the field was done, and then a lot of the sub panels throughout the school have been set now as well. Kind of next steps is really we setting up a meeting to look at schedule and find where we can make that time up. Brick installation is going to be starting here any day. The spray foam installation is about done, and we're going to finish drying in that south wing. So it's coming along. Again, the steel deliveries kind of put us a little behind, but again, we will get the team together in another week or two, and put something down on paper to how we're going to make that up.
So, Mike, can you remind us what the original end date was hoped to be, and then where we're at now?
So
I don't remember. So I did 3 weeks. It doesn't mean anything to me right now.
It's still before school starts because we were shooting for
That was basically the gist of my
like
question.
a late June, early July.
Okay, so
we had some grace in there, but
we don't want to use it.
We don't want to. Yeah, I don't like to use it. So
understandable. We want to be able to. I'm sure there's a lot of furniture, facility, all those things that need to get done after what's finished. Okay. Questions from board members? All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. It's exciting to see. Next, we have the 2024-2025 Management Discussion and Analysis. Mr. Brown and Mr. Vigilone will provide this update.
Good evening. I want to go through this fairly quickly. A lot of this information you did get the past couple weeks as we went through the fund financial statements and had some presentations. This will be more of what's accompanying the audit in a couple weeks. Starting on page 1, we've given you the fiscal year 25 financial statements and audit reporting timeline. I have highlighted in yellow where we are in the steps. And just another reminder that there is, in addition to this, a finance meeting on the 25th of November that is scheduled. Looking at the bottom of the page, there has been a significant change to the AFR format this year, another new rule to follow, a few more schedules. So this has become a little more involved, and we're going to take the automatic 30-day extension, but we don't anticipate needing all of that. Moving on a little deeper into the numbers, the third page in your attachment, you will notice a schedule with some fairly large numbers. I want to point out the net investment in capital assets. That's mainly fixed assets. That's your buildings, your land, your buses, and those types of things. For both underneath the governmental funds, the school district's main budget, as well as the business type activities. That's a food service program. Going down the next line, you see a number that's about $75 million. That is the number that was reported to you at the last meeting on the fund financial statements, and that is the amount that you have for capital reserve for those dollars for projects such as Park Forest or the district-wide facility master plan. Continuing on to the next page, taxes levied, even though they did go up, they remain fairly consistent with the same percentage of the budget. If you're looking at programmatic expenses, instructional expenses went from 56.7% of the expenditures in the prior year to 58.8% of the expenditures in the current year. So that did definitely tick up on the instructional side. If you will look down further, there's an accounting changes about near the bottom of that schedule. That is the compensated absences change. That is a GASB change, Government Accounting Standards Board change. Not much to know about it. It's just a new way to compute the liability, and we had to retroactive it back to the beginning of the end of last fiscal year. Then again, as in previously reported, the increase in expenses in 24-25 is primarily due to an increase in personnel cost. In addition to that, it was the creation of the Internal Service Fund for health insurance, as well as an increased transfer to capital reserve. Couple further pages down the line. Again, there should be very little in the way of surprises. We are still about 80-20 split between local versus federal and state combined. Just supplies and property is up a good bit, but that was the subscription asset that we talked about, the long-term agreement that we did that was about $2 million. We had to account for it this way. We had $2 million of revenue and $2 million of expense. That's just how the Government Accounting Standard Board wants us to report it. And then I touched on the increase for the transfer to capital reserve. Moving down to the budgetary highlights. Actual expenditures were about $4.2 million less than the amended budget before the $11.1 million to capital reserve, the transfer that we did. Again, we wanted to talk about the actions being done. At the last meeting, there was the $11.1 million transfer to capital reserve that was approved. There was a $9.4 million transfer to the Internal Service Fund for health insurance. And then you also recommitted $25 million for future debt service obligations. And going to the next page, the long-term debt. Again, our current debt outstanding as of June 30th, 2025 was about $166 million with a legal limit of about $442 million. The referendum debt was about $56 million at that point in time. And then the assessed value of real estate for 25-26 was approximately $2.566 billion, which was up about $37 million from 24-25. The only other key item of note I have on the last page is the Act 1 index for 24-25 was 5.3% in the last fiscal year. Tax raise was actually 2.65 in the 24-25 fiscal year. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions, and this will be coming back for your meeting in 2 weeks to take a vote on.
Okay, questions? So at your finances meeting, you'll be meeting with the auditor team at that meeting or a subsequent that meeting, right?
It will be at that meeting on the 25th.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Thanks.
I don't think we have any. Thank you. It's really helpful. All right. That concludes committee of the whole portion of the meeting. At this time, we have time again for public comment. Is there anyone here in person that was interested in public comment? How about anyone online? All right. board members all okay? Ready to plow on? All right, we'll do so. We're going to move on to the consent agenda then. And this includes several items that we'll address in a single motion for approval. To facilitate any questions, we'll go through each category individually. First up, we have approval of the minutes. Any corrections? Okay, there's rarely any because we have such a great secretary. Consent agenda items in operations. We've got approval for the high school thespian performance, some print shop materials, winter sports athletic supplies, HR, physical plant and technology approvals. Any questions in this section? Okay. With that, I'd like to call for a motion to approve consent agenda items 10 and 11 as presented.
Demo so moved. Anderson second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. One more time, any questions, concerns, clarifications? Okay. Seeing none, do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? All right, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that concludes the consent agenda. I think Mr. Johnson had a few words to add.
Yes. I would like to welcome Casey Yates as the new principal of Park Forest Middle School. Casey is currently the principal at Brentwood Elementary in the Cumberland County School District in Fayetteville, North Carolina. During her 20-year tenure with Cumberland County, she has also served as an assistant principal at Grays Creek High School, a media coordinator at Reed Rouse Classical School, and a fourth and fifth grade teacher. Her knowledge and leadership will be a valuable asset to our district, and we look forward to working with her in this role. While Casey couldn't be with us in this person, I believe she's joined us remotely this evening. Please join me in congratulating her on joining the SCASD community.
All right. Then we'll move on to action items this evening. Agenda item 12A is a motion to approve Mount Nittany Elementary addition change order. This is shown in attachment 12A.
Miller, so moved.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. I appreciate the enthusiasm. Questions or discussions on these change orders? These are in regard to the addition we just reviewed, some savings, some additions, kind of par for the course. Okay. Any public comment on this item? No. Okay. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that item is passed. Agenda item 12B is a motion to approve the purchase of a dump truck for the Transportation Department. This is shown in attachment 12B.
Have so moved.
Demo second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussions? This is replacement for some of our snowplow capability due to a very, very aging truck. I think it was 1999. That's almost as old as my marriage, which is pretty old. Okay. If there's no questions or discussion, do we have any public comment on this item? No. All right. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We celebrated 30 years this year, so that is how old. It's pretty old. Yeah, geez. Agenda item 12C is a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding with the State College Area Education Association for virtual learning. This is shown in attachment 12C.
So moved.
Buck, second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion for this item? Go ahead, Debbie.
I guess I just wondered if someone could explain a little bit how the virtual academy teaching preps are assigned. The verbiage for grades K through 5, where it talked about like only 2 subjects and it would only be math and ELA, and if you had to do more subjects when you had multiple grades, it would be more compensation. Like, I totally understand why that would be true, but I'm trying to figure out who are these teachers that are only teaching ELA and math, and where are these kids getting their science and social studies instruction? I'm sure there's an easy answer, but I couldn't figure it out.
So when we started the Elementary Virtual Academy, we had 5 teachers. It was during COVID, and we currently have 2 full-time elementary certified teachers to support all of our elementary K-5 VA students. And they provide live lessons in ELA and math on a daily basis. They do support science and social studies. It's part of the K-12 program, but they don't explicitly teach it. So when they talk about the explicitness of it, they are explicitly teaching and adding on content for reading and math on a daily basis. They are more of a support person for the science and social studies.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, that's helpful. As it's grown and changed, yeah, it's hard to remember what the structure quite looks like. Any other questions? Okay. Any public comment on this item? All right, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is passed. And that concludes our agenda for this evening. Looking ahead to future meetings, we have November 17th. That'll be a regular board meeting at 7 p.m. here in Panorama Village Boardroom. We'll also have November 18th, the Policy Development Committee at 10:30 in Panorama Village. And we'll have the Finance Committee on which one? The 25th at 9 a.m., I believe. All right. That's a little bit farther down. I'm sure we'll announce it again in our next meeting. So, and with that, thank you, everyone. I'd like to adjourn our, what? Tell people to vote. Yes. Oh, yeah, we usually do that at the beginning. So tomorrow is Election Day, so sorry. Please, please, please make sure you go out and vote in your local elections. It's really important. Personally, I say all the time to students that your local elections and your local officials have more impact on your life than you realize, and often more than sometimes your state representatives. So please go do so. Polls are open from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m.
And there is voting to be done on both sides of your ballot.
Yes.
Oh, that's
make sure you
such a
turn
good
it over
Yes.
so you get everything covered. There are some critical judge questions,
Yes.
judge retention questions that you'll want to review and be sure you're educated for to make your decisions. All right. With that, have a good night, everyone, and we're adjourned.